This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
I'm Neil Cairns, tracking those record-breaking Chinese elephants now on the home straight.
And I'm Yang Zhao in Beijing, learning how to make concrete clean itself.
These captivating, record-breaking elephants are now on the home stretch. They left southern China's Xishuangbanna National Nature Reserve in March last year. They then slowly made their way north across Yunnan province, skirting Kunming, the home of October's COP15 Biodiversity Conference, before heading south again. Recently, they have been helped across a major obstacle, the Yangzhao River. So Becky, it's been a while since we've talked, and the elephants are almost home.
So it was still about 170 kilometers away from their very original home, the nature reserve. Yeah, but actually they already reaching to the place with a similar vegetation type and similar climates, so which is good. And we are hoping that they can finally reach home.
Becky Shu Chen is a member of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature Asia Elephant Specialist Group. Like the elephants, she is from Yunnan province. I first spoke to her a month ago, just as the elephants had begun their trek south. It looks like a path is going to be cleared for them to get them back home.
Yes, so there's a team of the trackers. They fly the drones every day on a 7/24 basis. And at the same time, they were, for example, shut down the power supplies, for example, to prevent the elephants get electric shock or catch any fires.
It's been an incredible effort. 25,000 police, 1,500 emergency vehicles, 150,000 people evacuated to make way for the elephants, and up to 771,000 in insurance fund paid. The government has made an incredible effort.
Yes, I think has never happened in human history I have ever heard about. For example, similar tracks also happened in the past. So not such long distance, about 1,300 kilometers for the return, but some kind of long tracks happened, for example, in India, 1980s. So the herd of elephants are tracked to the central India, another herd tracked to the to the west India, both associated with the droughts. But they may not return and they don't know where to head to.
It's the year of the Biodiversity Conference, COP15. The elephants, as we talked about last time, actually made it to Kunming, which was kind of spooky that they've paid a visit to the city where the Biodiversity Conference is going to be held. Would the government have been so tolerant of these elephants if it was any other year?
So since 1989, China launched the wildlife protection law. So elephants are always the priority. And second, I think, because although we have a growing population of Asian elephants, but China still only has 300 of them. It's like less than 1% of the total populations across 13 rich countries. So in total, the Asian elephants right now, the population size is about 45 to 49,000. So I think China want to increase the elephants and trying to bring them back to that historical range.
And this is in keeping with the goal of COP15 to become an environmental civilization.
Yeah, it is. And I want to highlight as well, so the human-wildlife conflicts has been put into the COP15 as one of the targets. So we have to be aware as well with the growing number of elephants. It means this kind of tracking will happen more. So how to mitigate the negative impacts of those kind of large conflict-prone and potentially dangerous animal? The impacts on the especially local communities could be a task that the whole society should look into solutions.
Last time you were keen to make it clear this is a dispersal, not a migration. But now that they are almost home, can we call it a migration now?
It's not migration, because migration is like a seasonal and movement, and they have regular movement. But so basically, we did some data analysis, and through the pattern, we are sure that it's not migration, dispersal. And this kind of dispersal, especially the short distance, like less than 100 kilometers in length, this kind of dispersal happens a lot.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for them to move short distances, but these guys, by the time they get home, will have done 1,000 kilometers.
Yes, 1,300 kilometers is quite...
Oh, 1,300?
Yeah, exceptional. And actually, they are not home yet. It's still 200 kilometers away. So we don't really know. So maybe they will go a little bit to another direction.
Something I'm not clear about when they were out on the outskirts of Kunming, was that, as you said, it's up to the elephants. Was that them deciding that, or were they shepherded back in the southerly direction?
I think it's a kind of combination of elephant choice and also the human direction provided to them. So for elephants, they are a very intelligent animal, so they will choose somewhere that's good for them. So I think the return to the south is just what their behavior. So I think they were just trying to choose somewhere to stay. Even the new place, new territory, they must be suitable for them. So this is one of, I think, the choice made by themselves. And second, because Chinese governments had invested a lot of resources to block the way, they don't want elephants to go further or go wrong. And at the same time, to using 180 tons, it could be more, of the food, like bananas, maize, pineapples, to do some supplementary feeding, and at the same time using the food to base them to go to that directions they want them to go. So I think this kind of efforts and decisions made by elephants and also human beings.
So we started off with 16 elephants, 2 of them went home, a baby was born, more recently an elephant was darted, tranquilized and taken home. These guys, these 14 who remained, they've got the world record for dispersal in China now, don't they?
In the world, not even in China. I think the longest ever in the history we ever recorded.
What do you think about the future? What's going to happen if this happens again?
I think this could be a very challenging problem in the future, and not only China will face, but other countries may face as well. So the big elephant movement, as I mentioned in India, were associated with big droughts. So interestingly, and when we did some analysis, and we had some very interesting findings, just like what happened to India back to 1980s. So they were hit by a big drought. So in the past 50 years, Sichuan, where the elephants are originally from, experienced the most severe droughts in the past 50 years. So 2019 to 2020, the mean temperature of Sichuan is about 1.6 degrees higher than the mean temperature between the 1990s to 2010. So some researcher published that. I think it's very interesting. And then also, due to the climate change associated droughts, that means the elephant has limited food in the forest. So it's the reason why they roam out, trying to find more food. So not only, so what concerned me is not only that we have more elephants, it means they will need to go out to find new territory, to establish new populations. But if this kind of climate change is happening, if we have more extreme weather, for example, droughts, this may happen again.
Yeah, climate change. We're now in the last chance saloon, as they say, with regard to climate change.
They're all interconnected. Like human also is connected with elephant and its nature. If we have the breaking down of nature, this kind of extreme events will have negative impact on elephants for sure. And I think in the end, it will impact human beings badly as well.
Are you confident that the range that the elephants now exist in, the reserve they exist in, could be expanded?
Yeah, I think it should be the solution we're looking to. Elephants, they are herbivores. It means they don't like the dense forests. They like to find open areas to eat grass. But since 1958, Sichuan-Bainan, the elephant home, they established the nature reserves. And they control the fires very well. So whether we can return those lands back to forest, back to elephants, this must be included already into the Nation Elephant National Park planning.
And that planning is underway.
Yeah, this plan is on the way. So I think the tracking elephants again will speed up this process, and not only for China but for the globe, that we should really take into consideration about long-term conservation solution.
And as the first group of elephants heads home to Xishuangbanna National Nature Reserve, another group of 17 elephants has left it. You know, the more you look after the elephants, the more their population is going to increase, the more this problem is going to recur. It's a difficult conundrum.
So elephants just epitomize those large animals that could come into conflicts with human beings. For example, tigers. So we have cases that armored tiger also getting close to human villages in the northeast China. And for example, wolves. When the United States, right, they want to recover the gray wolves in Yellowstone. So now they have troubles with the ranchers. So I think this is a challenge for all of us to think about. We want the animals back, but also how we can ensure you have the happy communities. It's not possible. So right now, we even change the term. We don't call human elephant or human wildlife conflicts. We talk about human wildlife coexistence.
You can see more of Razor on our YouTube channel. Search for Razor Science Show and it will take you straight there. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications.
Life moves pretty fast. Ideas move at the speed of sound. Technology moves at the speed of light. If you don't filter out the noise, you might miss the details. We pay attention to the details because they matter, showing you a different perspective. See the difference.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Scientists around the world are constantly looking for new methods to keep up and respond to a rapidly moving COVID-19 pandemic and a constantly changing novel SARS-CoV-2 virus. Vaccines have been a huge success, but their global rollout has been slow and non-equitable. To combat this, CanSino Biologics in China have developed an inhaled version of their COVID-19 vaccine, which has had early success in clinical trials. 2 inhaled doses of the vaccine, given 28 days apart, produced a similar level of protection measured by neutralizing antibodies to those of a single injection. And the lower dosage used means that production capacity can be boosted. It's hoped that technology like this will overcome some of the logistical challenges of a global vaccine rollout, getting more people protected more rapidly. But to keep ahead of the virus, we need more than just vaccines. A huge global collaboration has, at remarkable speed, broken down the complete life cycle of the novel SARS-CoV-2 virus. By understanding exactly how the virus enters, takes over, and exits human cells, it's hoped that new methods of prevention and treatment can be found. It also helps us understand what may lie ahead in the fight against future variants. But first, let's start with the basics. Here's a SARS-CoV-2 virus particle with its internal RNA genome and external membrane and spike proteins. When inhaled, the virus needs to reach an ACE2 receptor, found on the outside of cells in the throat and lungs. Connection is made via the spike protein, which we can look at in more detail. The bottom of the spike protein, or stalk, has hinges or joints allowing for fluid movement. It's thought this may help the virus locate and bind with an ACE2 receptor. This is unlike other viruses such as influenza, which have much more rigid external proteins. The bottom section here is the S2 subunit, and the top is the S1 subunit. This contains the receptor binding domain, the point where the spike physically connects to ACE2. Notable variants, including alpha and delta, have multiple changes in this S1 subunit structure, which studies suggest help the spike protein bind better to the ACE2 receptor. This, in turn, increases the transmissibility of the virus. Whether further changes in this S1 subunit structure could improve the binding of future variants and therefore increase transmissibility is still unknown, but scientists are certainly not ruling it out. The spike also plays a vital role in triggering our immune response or protection against SARS-CoV-2. After infection, or better still vaccination, the structure of the spike is remembered by the immune system. If detected again, the body quickly mobilizes antibodies to eradicate the virus, preventing infection or serious illness. Changes to the structure of the spike, like with the alpha, beta, delta, and gamma variants, makes it harder for the body to detect the virus and therefore mount a defense against it. New research has also found that SARS-CoV-2 uses glycans, which are sugar molecules, around the surface of the spike protein to help it hide from the immune system. Targeting the sugar coating is a potential avenue for new drugs and treatments. After the spike binds to ACE2, an enzyme called TMPRSS2 cuts the spike at the S2 subunit, facilitating rapid entry of the RNA genome into the human cell. This TMPRSS2 pathway is believed to be much faster than other viral entry pathways. For example, the original SARS-causing SARS-CoV virus from 2003 uses a pathway called endosomal entry, which is thought to be much slower and therefore less transmissible. Targeting the entry pathway is another area for drug treatments. The malaria drug CHLOROQUINE, which looked hopeful in lab studies for treating COVID-19 disease, disrupts endosomal entry. We now know the reason it did not work in real-world clinical trials for COVID-19 is because of the use of the TMPRSS2 pathway by SARS-CoV-2. After the viral genome enters the human cell, it hijacks it. A hijacked cell starts producing new SARS-CoV-2 virus particles, which eventually exit the cell, allowing SARS-CoV-2 to infect other cells in the body. Here again, the virus has another unusual trick up its sleeve. On the spike protein, between the S1 and S2 subunits, a SNP is made. This site, called the furin cleavage site, has been widely discussed since its discovery at the beginning of the pandemic. It's a trait not seen in the original SARS-CoV virus, but has been found in other viruses, like the highly pathogenic avian influenza virus. The furin cleavage site is used by the TMPRSS2 pathway from earlier. It primes the spike to be cut quickly by the TMPRSS2 enzyme, allowing rapid entry of the virus genome into the human cell. Studies have found that in the original SARS-CoV-2 virus, around 50% of the spike proteins were primed with this cut. The alpha variant is believed to have more than 50%, whilst the delta variant is thought to have more than 75% of its spikes primed with this cut. This is another explanation for the increased transmissibility of the alpha variant, and then again for the delta variant. It also highlights there is still capacity for a new variant to reach up to 100%. As cases continue to rise in this Delta variant wave of the pandemic, there are more opportunities for the virus to mutate and, under evolutionary pressure, become more transmissible and more immune evasive. Vaccines are a great success, but only one tool in the fight against the virus. Understanding exactly how it functions in the body enables scientists to explore other tools, such as targeting the sugar coating on the spike protein or entry pathways with new drugs and treatments. For more science, behind-the-scenes insights, groundbreaking research, and even some fun, check out our Razor podcast. Search Razor Sounds on all major streaming platforms, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any episodes.
Facing the unknown is always difficult. In a world in turmoil, it's easy to lose orientation. But when the storms come, we have to see the possibilities, reinvent, find new opportunities, discover a path forward. CGTN. See the difference.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global business. Only on CGTN.
On the agenda with me, Stephen Cole, we look up into space. We look down into data. We look at debt. We look at politics. We look at opioids, climate change. We look at all the issues that really matter around the world. But you matter too. We want to tell the stories you want to see and hear about. Make it your agenda.
Over 2,000 years ago, the Romans invented what we now know as cement-based concrete. One of the world's most crucial building materials, is also one of the most prone to environmental risks. With extensive exposure to air, rain, and pollution, concrete structures tend to get dirty, discolored, and fractured. But scientists have found the future cement to help keep buildings safe.
材料表面对于水分子是有一定的吸附能力的。通过改变物体表面的表面状态，使它和水的结合能力下降，这样子 就产生了所谓的缩水的一个状态。
Hydrophobic literally means fear of water. Such surfaces exist in nature, from lotus leaves to insects' wings. Their special structure and chemical makeup allow them to repel not only water, but also dust and pollutants. And scientists have been able to emulate these super hydrophobic surfaces in the lab for application to daily items like clothes and shoes. At the core of these products is a highly water-repellent silicon polymer known as PDMS.PDMS
其实它是一个工业产品啦，可以大量生产，可以做一些表面防护啊、一些保护啊等等等等。
But how does PDMS polymer work to make an entire building water repellent? It's not as easy as slathering it on walls as you would with paint, because top layers would get worn away over time. What if PDMS is mixed with cement?
因为你的掺入，它就涉及到一个它的，比如它的分布的均匀性啊。如果你把它完全包裹住了，那其实它也起不到什么作用了，它可能反而成一个断裂源。
So, how can it effectively get PDMS polymer into concrete? Professor Shu found the perfect carrier for this water-resistant substance is, wait for it, oil.But many of us know that oil and water don't mix. So how can this mixture happen to create self-cleaning concrete?
Ice cream is the perfect example of the marriage between oil and water, also known as emulsion. Through the use of emulsifier, the process works by stabilizing a mixture of fluids to help them unite and stay together.Therefore, it's not entirely true that oil and water don't mix. They can, with a little bit of help.
乳化完了以后，它就形成一种什么样的结构呢？连续的这个水线中产生了大量的这种非常小的这个油滴。这个时候，我们就加入了水泥，我们再进行搅拌。
Now those countless oil droplets which carries hydrophobic particles are everywhere in the slurry.When it is dried and heated, the oil droplets will evaporate and lift behind those tiny pores coated with hydrophobic polymer. The end result is a lightweight, water-fearing, new concrete.
It can repel dust particles and liquids other than water, including milk, beer, soy sauce, coffee, and colored water.
From the surface to the inside,The material keeps its super hydrophobic quality, even after it's ground into powder.
我们的传统的这种多孔结构，它的孔差不多1个毫米左右，但是我们的这个减小了50倍以上，它的孔越小，就是说从它的隔热、隔音的效果来说，它应该更有力。
Regular concrete undergoes the curing process for it to harden and gain strength.which involves days of keeping it moist with water. However, in the case of this new concrete, it is impossible to add water into it once the super hydrophobic surface has been generated. So researchers are now working to change this, so the material can go through the same curing process as regular concrete, in turn, making it stronger and more efficient.Scientists are also looking to enhance the material from being self-cleaning to medical level, where it can not only resist water and dirt, but also bacteria.
水的话，对于细菌来说是一个非常合适的场所。如果不沾水的话，它这个地方就没有生长的可能。这其中真正的要应用，我们其实还有很大量的工作要去做。
And what's exciting is that China is planning missions that go beyond Mars, probes that would go visit Jupiter and some of the Jovian moons, I think notably of Callisto. There's discussion also of a flyby of Uranus, of also sample return on an asteroid. So there's a lot of exciting talk of missions that go beyond the moon and Mars. So it's really very exciting times for the Chinese space industry.